I know you've heard the buzz about micro laser fat removal at Sono Bello. It's remarkable how in just one visit, your stubborn fat is gone permanently. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro laser fat removal. Brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently wherever your problem areas are. I'm talking tummy, side, thighs, arms, or that saggy, loose, jiggly skin. It's gone in one comfortable visit. Visit sonobello.com/summer. That's Sono, BELLO.com/summer. This episode of Juicy Scoop is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Well, it's time for summer travel. You guys know I've been loving it. And Booking.com offers so many possibilities across the U.S. for all the travelers you want to be, which is perfect for me. From hotel suites for one or more, like my whole family, to romantic villas, maybe just you and the husband for couples escape. There are so many great choices on Booking.com. What are you waiting for? This summer, you can book whoever you want to be on Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Book today on the site or app.
Heather McDonald has got the juiciest scoop. When you're on the road, when you're on the go, Juicy Scoop is the show to know. She talks Hollywood tales, her real life Mr. Segment serial data and serial sister. You'll be addicted and addicted fast to the #1 tabloid real life podcast. Listen in, listen up. Whoop, whoop. Heather McDonald, Juicy Scoop.
Hello and welcome to Juicy Scoop. As always, I've got a lot to get through, so I'm going to get through it by myself. Let's get into it. A little update on the Olympics, as I'm sure you're watching and enjoying. So, yeah, they had to cancel the men's triathlon. It's been postponed, but I think it's now been canceled for them swimming in the Seine River in Paris. It has way too much shit in it. And they said the level of poo that was in it when the female mayor swam in it, she probably shouldn't have done that either. So as a native Angelino who is going to most likely be here in 2028 in Los Angeles, and I was here in 1984 for the 84 Olympics. In the 2028 LA Olympics, it's happening here, Summer Olympics. What is so great is that there's probably not a lot of podcasters that could say they were at the 84 Olympics or that they were born, for that matter, in Los Angeles. But I can tell you that LA was fabulous during that time. And for all of you that are moving out and can't stand it, I'm just saying if you want to hang on for former years, it will be very clean and delightful, I promise you, for at least a month during the Olympics 4 years from now. Because even back in the 84 Olympics, everyone was freaked out. All the news, everyone was talking, oh my God, it's going to be a nightmare. The traffic's going to be a nightmare. It's going to be awful. It's going to be so congested. So many people just picked up and left and were not even here. And that was before we had like Airbnbs and stuff. So I don't know what it'll be like as far as people wanting to like rent out their homes or whatever for the Olympics. But what I think is great about LA is we're not going to try to have people swim in our LA River or anything like that. We are going to keep it to USC, probably, the Rose Bowl, whatever. We're going to know our limitations, and it's going to be fabulous. I don't know what was going on with Paris. It seems like there's been a lot of miscalculations in doing this from the housing. And we know all this now because this is by far the first Olympics ever. And it's going to be even more like this, I'm sure, in 2028, where every Olympian has their own social media TikTok account, and so many of them are doing a lot of content, as they should. They're worked their whole life to get to this level. They get to be on TV for a couple weeks. And in the past, those 90% of the Olympians we never heard from again, and that was it. And they just had to wrap their leg and move on with their life. Well, now there's this great opportunity for many of these Olympians to do what a lot of influencers do. And now we know them. We know them as a person that's, this really great volleyball player or whatever, and fun to watch on social media. So in doing that, we've gotten a lot of info of what it's really like to be in the Olympic Village or whatnot. And these tennis players were sharing, female tennis players, that it's quite a challenge in these villages, in their housing that Paris has provided, because it was 10 girls to 2 bathrooms. And look, not only are they on TV, but they're girls. They want to do their hair. They want to do their makeup. And that is a challenge. Anyway, 5 of the tennis players said, forget it. And they went to a hotel. So I guess they have an option to leave for the hotel. I'm not really sure. Because then this girl, I read, a Brazilian swimmer, opens up. She was expelled from the Olympics, apparently, because she left the village to go see her boyfriend and see the sights of Paris. And they said, you cannot do that. And it was like weird reports, like, what? She just wanted to like get a little, boning in. No, it's like a security thing and you're not supposed to leave. So I guess if you officially say, I'm leaving here and I'm going to live in a hotel because I just can't handle it, that's one thing. Because going back to what I was saying, I mean, I can't imagine if you don't have good air conditioning, if you don't have many good nights sleep leading up to the biggest day or night or event of your life, like, do you imagine you're this huge athlete and like you have like a crunchy sheet and like a shitty mattress? Like, no, I've spent your whole life doing this and now you're in this crappy place. So I thought that was really interesting. Big announcement. I am coming to see you live. I am coming to Houston, Dallas, Austin, Las Vegas. Then I'm off to the East Coast and I'm going to be in Boston, Chicago, New York, too many cities to count. And all of those tickets are at heathermcdonald.net. The link is right here below. Click on there. Do not Google and end up in some bogus website of some reseller who is going to charge you twice or even more than what you should be paying to come see me. I want to meet you in person. A Juicy Scooper made me the shirt. I love meeting you guys in person. We're going to have so much fun. Go to heathermcdonald.net right at this link to buy the tickets, and I will see you soon. So this is getting a lot of talk. The French Prime Minister, who is married, had a very steamy embrace with the female sports minister at the Olympics. And it is weird. It's like she took his head. It looks like they're kissing. She's like a woman, I don't know, in her 40s, early 50s. That's about his age. He might still be in his 40s. This is the president I've often talked about that has an interesting romantic life. He met his now wife when he was her student, when he was 14, and they had a relationship. And then he went off to college, and then she got divorced, and then they got together, and now they've been together for many years, and it seems to have worked out because he's the president, but whatever. It's very Mary Kay Letourneau. And then he had this weird embrace with this woman. So, those are some of the juicy things happening. Of course, our girls won the gold medal. The gymnastic team was absolutely fantastic. So prior to the Olympics happening, a retired gymnast, Michaela Skinner, made some comments that she didn't feel that this Olympic team was, she said they were lazy, they weren't hardworking enough, they didn't have a work ethic. Well, they're the most decorated team now. Simone, of course, broke all kinds of records for the amount of medals and everything she's won. I don't have all the stats, but whatever, they're the bomb. They're amazing. So then, of course, she, had to do her comments and liked it. Like, so happy for you guys. But it just goes to show you, with the whole world having social media and podcasts where you're just like saying everything, just know that any of these comments can really come back and bite you in the ass. So if you're, maybe don't talk about, people's that are going to go to the Olympics and then you look like a bitter old bitch. The other thing that happened is Simone was very annoyed because while, chilling out, she looks on her phone and sees that a lot of people were ripping on her hair. Nobody should rip on someone's hair, no matter what, as they're flipping around a million times. But what she did do in her clapback, which again, I thought was very interesting. She's like, basically, like, my hair didn't look like this when I left. It looked like this after I got into a bus for 45 minutes to go to the event where we are going to compete for the medals, not just like a practice. In the bus for 45 minutes, there was no air conditioning. I don't think you guys want to see my hair after 45 minutes of no air conditioning. I mean, there's been times when I've had to do stand-up and I've had to maybe leave a Uber and then walk to a theater and it might be a little humid. And I'm like, oh my God, what the hell? How am I getting on stage and look like this? And so, yeah, it bugs. Should she look at this stuff? Should she care? She has a hot husband, a million medals, beloved by all. But it does bug because you're like, I would like you to know the facts behind the fact that maybe my hair wasn't its cutest that day. So this is what these people have to deal with. Okay, now I have been dying to talk to you guys about this subject that has just taken over social media. So this is why I'm going to really introduce it to you guys, because I know for many of you, you're not on TikTok, you're not on Instagram, but it's very interesting stuff. I have mentioned this phenomenon called tradwife. It's short for traditional wife. And with the rise of social media and moms showing videos of what they do in their home, whether it's get ready with me or doing my makeup or how I organize my kids' playroom, whatever, there's a lot of young women who are also Mormon who have really exploded on Instagram in sharing their lives. And for some of them, it's a very traditional life. Not in just the fact that they don't work outside the home and raise their kids and maybe breastfeed. I'm talking traditional, like Little House on the Prairie, like pioneer women for real, like making their own bread and gummies. And it's crazy. So we'll talk about the one that I'm going to really talk about, who had this controversial article written about her, goes by the name on Instagram, Ballerina Farms, because at one time she was a ballerina. She often dances around her farm as well. And then she got married and has 8 kids. Now, let me just tell you a little bit about her. So she was at Juilliard. She was a ballerina. That was her dream, to live in New York and be a ballerina. I don't know that that part was known before this journalist did an article about her, came to her farm and did an article about she and her family, took photographs for this, the London Times. So I think she was really excited to have this, this big article written about her. Anyway, in telling about her life, the woman asked, did you always want to live on a farm? So now they live on this farm in Utah. She and the husband, they're very attractive, 8 kids. And her content, she has 8 million followers, is the fact that they have cows, they have, they make their own meat, all their dairy. And in all these videos that she does, which really is the pattern of a lot of people's videos in their homes, like where they show a bunch of things, waking up, wiping their kid's face, making a cup of coffee, and then you hear them do a voiceover like, hi, I'd like to tell you what a day in the life is when you're raising 4 boys. First I wake up and, and that's why this stuff works. You're like looking in people's homes. It's different than why reality shows popped 15, 20 years ago. That was really intriguing to us. Now it's even more intriguing to see every aspect of someone else's home life, from their kids to their marriage to how they do their underwear drawer, all of it. So we see this and it just becomes fascinating to a lot of people, I think especially women, because they're like, okay, how does she have these 8 kids look this amazing? She was in like a Mrs. Pageant, where you're married women, beauty pageant. I think like 8 days after giving birth, they're like her 7th or 8th kid. So she's like lean and gorgeous. She started having the kids young. But anyway, the reporter says to her, was this your dream to always like be on a farm and do everything from scratch and raise your kids? And she's like, no, actually it was to live in New York, and I was at Juilliard. And then I met the husband, the guy, and he pursued me and I wasn't really interested, but he was determined to meet her. And what he did was, his dad happens to own JetBlue, the airlines. So essentially, he's worth $400 million. He and his family, or maybe just him alone. I don't know what the trust fund situation is, but he's worth a lot of money and they're Mormon. So he's interested in her. So somehow he found out that she was going on a flight and he managed to get the exact ticket next to her. And on that flight, they fell in love. He wooed her, got her to go out with him, and then pursued the marriage because in the Mormon religion, in order to go and be in the celestial afterlife, you're supposed to, not have sex before you're married. So they got married. I believe maybe she was Mormon before too. So they get married young. And she's like the first person at Juilliard to be in the program, being a ballerina and being pregnant. So eventually that ends, she leaves, and they go to to this Utah farm. And she starts popping out the babies. And in this interview, she says, I've never had any epidural except for one time when the husband wasn't around and he doesn't know. And she's kind of telling the reporter off, like when the husband's like on a call. Well, one time I had it and it was pretty wonderful. And so this, of course, gets put into the article. And also in the article, the journalist says, I would ask Hannah, which is the woman's name, a question, and he would interrupt. And it was like, well, our business and da-da-da. So the business is all this great food that you see, now you can order. You can have it sent. I don't know if it comes in dry ice. I remember we used to have things, I guess it's like Omaha Steaks, which are just like these really great steaks. They come to your house. I don't know if it's a subscription, whatever, but it's doing amazing. She's won awards for being an entrepreneur. And for the people that don't order the food, millions of people just watch it because these videos are you are watching Little House on the Prairie. If you don't know that show, watch it. It's Ballerina Farms. The kids are all homeschooled. They have a little schoolhouse like they did in Little House on the Prairies, which was about this family in like the 1800s. And they all like make food. Like there's like a 10-year-old that was like making like a homemade rhubarb pie, like from a rhubarb vegetable. I mean, it's just, but I'm watching this and, I'm always like, God, I got to do more content, but it's a pain in the ass to film yourself. And I hate that everybody on TikTok, in order to get views, has to be like eating their food with their mouth open. I want to tell you about the time that my boyfriend cheated on me. Like, just tell me the story. I don't need to see your, molar, okay? I don't need to know what you're eating. I don't know who started that trend. I don't like it. Just tell me the story. Sometimes people fake it. They'll be like, so when it's so bizarre that like having your mouth open and having us to see your feet, but these are the things that work. So you're wondering what's working here. And I'm watching these videos and I'm like, okay, not only is it super time consuming that you're making this meal, but you've now said they don't have any nannies. They do have someone who helps clean the house. They don't have any nannies. She has 8 kids. Now, the other thing about having this many kids is this thing called parentification, which I remember there were families in my Catholic community that, once you have more than like 6 kids, oftentimes an older child really does kind of get assigned to a younger child. And we saw it happen with the Duggards, which was a show on TLC or 19 and Counting or whatever it was, where you're sort of assigned your kid and, and they keep having these kids and it doesn't, for the older child, it doesn't give them the chance to have a full childhood. They're changing diapers at 6 years old. They're making sure the little one has its shoes and all this other stuff. So they're like, that can happen, especially when you don't have nannies and there's this many kids close together. Other people say, that's a beautiful family. This is the way it was done, in the 1800s, so why not now? And then other people are like, but we don't have to make our own sourdough bread. No, you don't, but she'd like to, so leave her the fuck alone. This is the kind of like conversations going between people commenting on this person. And guess what? She should be commented on. She has 8 million followers. So I'm sorry, Ballerina Farms, but you put yourself out there. You featured all your kids. You make a lot of money, which is great. Not dissing it, but not every opinion you may like. And that's just part of putting yourself out there. So this article comes out and people are like, oh my God, I feel so sorry for her. And, one of the things that really upset people was this video that I think came out a year ago. And then after this article, it resurfaced. She posted this video, which I thought was interesting. But I guess for people that avidly follow Ballerina Farms, she said, I want to go to Greece. I want to go to Greece. I hope I can go to Greece. And so the husband appears to be filming her while she opens this gift. And she's like, hope it's tickets to Greece. And she starts to open it and she sees a little cloth and she goes, I hope this is a hat that I can wear to Greece. And she's like, oh, it's my egg apron. And it's a little apron that has cloth where each egg can fit in. I lived a Ballerina Farms life for about 3 or 4 years when we had chickens. And I did like pretending I was a farmer, and I would go and I would just take my shirt and like put the eggs in there. And it really is kind of fun. Not something I want to do all day. And you know what? My kids ate so many eggs that eventually we still had to go to Trader Joe's and Ralph's. And then when the chickens ended their lives, not by their own volition, but by like coyotes and things that happened and just pecking order. And I don't want to get into it. Peter and I were like, I think we're just going to continue to go to Ralph's. Like, that was fun. It was a cool thing to do. All the stars were pretending to be farmers. And I was like, let me try too. But this chick is like a real farmer. And it is a pretty cute apron. Okay. So she's like, and the little kid's like, don't you love it, Mom? And to a little kid, they would think you love it because all they see you do is like cook and do that. And so they, and then she's like, oh, I love it. Then she does her little dance and he's like, finally, got to thank you after, a minute and a half of the. Anyway, so I'm getting into this and I'm like, why would she post this a year ago? How could she not see that? I don't know. Is she the smartest person in the world? Is she the dumbest? Which is what I ask all the time when certain viral videos and things happen. Was this luck or was this like a thing, a marketing thing? I have come to the conclusion that it's a little bit of both. This is her life, but this is a marketing thing. I know you've heard the buzz about micro laser fat removal at Sono Bello. It's remarkable how in just one visit, your stubborn fat is gone permanently. Once a year, Sono Bello invites listeners to their exclusive summer savings event featuring their best pricing of the year. It's on for a limited time, and appointments are limited, so you need to hurry. Sono Bello doctors are masters in micro laser fat removal. Brilliant technique that removes stubborn fat permanently wherever your problem areas are. I'm talking tummy, side, thighs, arms, or that saggy, loose, jiggly skin. It's gone in one comfortable visit. This is what I like about Sono Bello. It's effective and it doesn't take a lot of time. And I think that's really the best part about this micro laser fat removal from Sono Bello. Lose the inches and love your best summer ever. And with the Care credit card, you'll enjoy flexible financing and convenient monthly payments subject to credit approval. See website for detail. Visit sonobello.com/summer. That's Sono, BELLO.com/summer. I don't know about her, but this other girl, this beautiful model, she's also only 24 with 3 kids. She married her husband at 19. They're both models. And her name is Nora Smith. And she is a legit like runway model. But she and her 3 adorable children and hot husband named Lucky, they also have like 8 million followers. And she cooks everything from scratch while wearing Chanel and clothes and everything because she's a real model. So I'm sure they give it to her. And she's got this like really affected voice. And in her voiceover, she's like, so today my husband said that he was craving a piece of gum. And I said, okay. I got out of bed. I made my children their homemade, first I had to make their homemade goldfish. And she does. She makes goldfish from scratch and shows it in a video. And in this video, the angle is from here. The angle is over the bowl. The angle is from across the thing. And then we see the final product. But the way the video is, it sounds like the kid asked for goldfish. And then, within 7 minutes, the kid had a homemade goldfish. Okay. Well, we know that's not true. But so there's been a lot of parodies about it and whatnot. I 100% believe, being that she was already a model, I think there's a whole secret team behind her. I think this team comes in with chefs and cooks and things. This is what I think. And I still think she's a great mom. I still think she likes to cook. But it's not humanly possible that she could do all this, not have any care, and do this level of cooking, film it and edit it and put it out with no help. Okay? And so I think a team comes in and they have a day or two of all day filming, costume changes. Someone is watching the kids, the husband or somebody. People are, going, okay, now cut these carrots, now do this. But the way it's edited, it really looks like she's done it all herself and she just propped up the phone like this. I appreciate that she's not, when she takes a bite of the food, it's one bite and she's gorgeous. So I don't mind Bethany Frankel being like, it's on the level. Like it's just, Anyway, so, and then there's like there's many other women that are doing this that are like, got married young. Now, some are Mormon, some are Christian. Some of them, it's not about the religion. They're like, I think we were sold a false thing of goods about wanting to be an independent woman and have a career and everything, because then who's watching our kids? And if you ask any kid, who would you know, or an adult, if you were to ask an adult, I saw this on like an Oprah or something from years back. I think it was Dr. Laura. She was also pushing the trad life in the 80s or 90s before anyone talked about it. She said, well, you're putting your kid in daycare so that you can have a career, but ask yourself this. If you could go back to being a child, would you want your mom to be caring for you? Would you want to be at a daycare? And everyone's like, and it is, I've talked about it. It's like really so interesting for someone who is my age, because my mom was home with the 5 kids. She had an education. She was a college graduate. She worked in advertising. She was home with the 5 kids. And then my dad was in advertising. And every time they'd lose an account, he was out of business, out of work. And it was a lot of stress. And so she's like, I'm going to go look for a job. So she tried to get a job at the local newspaper, and she saw how little it paid. And so she's like, I'm going to get my real estate license. And then when she got a real estate license when I was about 6 or 7, it was just like she wasn't there. And I remember being the youngest of 5 and saying, it's not fair that they got you all. My brothers and sisters got you till 17, 14, and I only got you for 6 years. I literally said this to her. I still feel guilty about it. But it's the way I felt. Like my fondest memories was like this one day that her car broke down and she had to walk all the way to the school to pick me up so that we could walk home together. That day of walking home is like the best memory of my life. So like when I see these women today kind of struggling with like, oh, well, if I want to stay home with my kids, there's a group of women online that say you're making a mistake. But then I also know why women were told to work, because they saw other women in the 70s and 80s give up their life for their kids and their husband. And then when they got to about 45 and the kids were off to college, and if the marriage broke up or they weren't in love with their husband anymore, it's not like the husband always dumped on. They might not be in love with their husband anymore, or they want to leave. They couldn't leave because they didn't spend the last 20 years building up a business profession or a career. When I was young, the media affected my choices, just like the women watching these things are affecting theirs, whether to get a career and not have kids or find a great guy so that they can stay home with their kids. And for me, it was a show called One Day at a Time. And it was a Norman Lear sitcom, which he's this brilliant guy. He did all these great shows of the time. And even though they were comedies, they were very much about the social thing that was going on in the world at the time. And One Day at a Time was with Bonnie Franklin and Valerie Bertinelli and Mackenzie Phillips. And those were her 2 daughters, and they were like 14 and 16 or something. And it's like, one day at a time, one day at a time. Now whop on your feet, whop on your feet. And they show her packing a station wagon, leaving the home with the husband, taking the 2 daughters and getting this small apartment. And she's 34 years old and she has no education. She got married at 17. She doesn't have a college career, and she's going to try to make it in advertising. And every episode is like, oh, but what were you doing the last 20 years? And you don't have an education. And it's so much struggle for her. And she's raising these teenage girls. They never see their dad. It seems like they don't get $1 from the dad. It's just like, and I remember being like, oh my God, I don't want that to be me. And even my mom would be like, you've got to get an education. No one can take your education away from you, no matter what, have a career, blah, blah, blah. And then there was a generation of, women that were like, oh, well, you got to work and then take care of the kids. And people are like, no, it's a luxury and it's a flex to say, I have a wealthy enough husband that I can stay home. And most people don't. So then they're like, well, stop flexing that you can stay home. The only reason you can stay home is because your husband's rich. And, you wouldn't want to sell insurance either. So that is where I think like women have always been so judgmental of each other, whether it's the stay-at-home mom or the working mom, and the feelings that you get at school. And I've talked a lot about it. And even though I've now at the end of this and I have successful children to show for it, I still feel guilty and sad and wonder, I certainly wouldn't have this career if I didn't go to work full time when my kids were, let me see how old is 7, 4.5, and 1.5. I went to a full-time job. I was gone all day to work on a TV show, Chelsea Lately. Without that, there was no way I would be sitting here today, making money, doing this thing. And now with all my kids growing up and being gone, I have this great fun career. I have this way of making money no matter what happens with my marriage. So it's great. But do I still feel sad that I didn't get to be at all the things in preschool and kindergarten and all that stuff? Yeah, I do. Will I ever really know how it affected my kids? Will my kids ever really tell me? Maybe I don't want them to. It's just like, I know this is like a weird episode, but I think it's like, I wanted to just share my perspective because I'm a woman of a certain age. I've been married. I have kids. My mom was a working mom, but we believed in a traditional life as far as like we, are Catholic and we're Catholic. I was raised Catholic. So it's like, I don't want to be mean. I see the pressure that some of these Mormon and Christian women are getting from this other side of women being like, how sad. So the whole thing is how sad that she's not a ballerina anymore. Well, listen, you're not going to be a ballerina forever. Could she have stayed at New York and had some fun and had a Sex and the City life, which I also think Sex and the City was a show that really, I think, shaped a lot of women's lives to not want to get married and have kids and want to pursue their fun in the city. How many women have I met that are young that are like, after growing up watching Sex and the City, I couldn't wait to come to New York and have my fun time. And I hope that they did, and I hope they had a great time, and I think it's fabulous. Just like I didn't want to be Bonnie Franklin in One Day at a Time. It's like there are things that you see, whether it's on TV or whatnot, but the media, whatever the media is at the time, for me, it was just normal TV, whatever, 7 channels at the time. For other people, it's all these videos you see on TikTok and Instagram of seeing people and being like, what do I want my life to be? The next video you'll see is a girl that's dressed chic, having the time of her life, happily single, happily childless, living the New York life, going on trips with her girlfriends. And you're like, that's what I want. I'm just saying we can all have a choice, no matter what you are, a man or woman, whatever your gender is, to have kids, not have kids, do it in the way you want, do it alone, do it with someone, do it with 3 people. I don't know. You have the choice. But the conversation is juicy. The conversation is interesting. And it's not bad that we're having this conversation. Now, I would say to this, yeah, did she continue being a ballerina? Was she able to go on stage in a traveling Broadway play or whatever as a ballerina? No, because she got pregnant. She had all these kids. But let me tell you, 8 million people in her lifetime would have never seen her dance on stage in Broadway or anywhere else. But they see her twirl around her kitchen and make her dishes and make her food. And if she doesn't really want the chatter anymore, if she can't take it, or if she doesn't have the discipline not to look at the comments, she has this business. She has the money. She could just stop doing these videos and still you could buy her Ballerina Farms food. But I think she loves it. I think she did always want to be a star. That's why she's a performer. She loves to dance. But the way that people are thinking that she's like suffering and like, people play this, they think that she's the ballerina that you keep in a box. There's some weird song about a guy that's like, oh, I wanted a ballerina and I kept her in a box. I mean, the only thing I'm hoping for her is that she has a really good lawyer and possibly a post-up just for her own protection, because when you marry someone that wealthy, that it comes from a trust, I don't know if this farm is in both their names. It might be in his family trust, meaning if they break up, she might not get it. So it's really good that she built a business. And numerous times he said, it's both of our business. It's both of our business. Other people would say, it should be just her business. She's the face of us. Well, whatever. It's both of their businesses. I hope they stay married forever. My bet would be that they would. But if anything happened, She does have a business now. She will be fine regardless of how much money his family has and how many top attorneys they have, if in fact she wanted to leave. But she has 8 kids. She's not going to want to leave. I don't understand why she couldn't go to Greece. I don't understand I almost feel like that apron thing was a way to get more eyes on it. This whole article that was supposedly negative about her got so many people realizing who she was, and so many people that might be like, oh my God, I love that she is this homemade maker mom, whatever, whether camera crew comes in or not. I don't know. She seems like she is actually filming it. So I don't know when she's filming and editing herself. That I didn't catch that part in the article, who does all the social media. After the negative article came out, in which I think she thought this woman was going to think she was great, then wrote the whole thing of like, your life is pathetic and you're a victim, and people are writing he has serial killer eyes and whatever. Then she didn't post for a while, and then she did a post, and it was just, I love this life, and it was videos of she and her husband dancing around, taking one of the kids to the latest like goat cage or whatever it was, things on the farm. And she said, I love it. And I mean, I think these people are getting the last laugh, but I think the conversation is fascinating. And that's why I wanted to do it on the show for a solo. So tell me what you think. I'm sure you will. I know you've heard of Ozempic or Wegovy, but you've probably heard 3 things. They're effective, but they're expensive. They're hard to get. That is where Ro comes in. So if you're curious, but you can't get your hands on it, that is where Ro is so great. Through Ro, you can access prescription compound GLP-1s with the same weight loss ingredient as brand names GLPs at a fraction of the cost. Ro has compounded the GLP-1s in stock now, and you can get it in 1 to 4 days if you qualify. So if you're eligible for medication, patients can have access to their provider on demand for any questions. What I like is you get the medication, it comes right to your house, and you also have the support that Ro provides. Go to ro.co/juicyscoop. Memberships start at just $99 for your first month. Medication costs are separate. That's ro.co/juicyscoop. Go to ro.co/safety for black box warning and full safety information. Compounded medication is not required to and does not receive FDA review or approval, RX only. Okay, Real Housewives of OC. So, oh gosh. Well, Vicky's in trouble, you guys. Vicky, we're going to Mexico! She's had this insurance company, Coto Insurance, since the beginning. That is what we saw. The first pilot episode was her being an independent woman because she was divorced and on her second marriage, running this insurance company. Always telling everybody, you got to work, I work. These other women don't work, I work. But she stayed on the show for 17 years. Now, we know they make a lot of money on the show, but they don't get residuals. And so she's always kept the Coto Insurance going. She's got people under her. Let's also remember that she had a boyfriend named Brooks, who claimed he had cancer, and she claimed that she always believed he had cancer. And Meghan King Edmonds realized he didn't, and she bought him some teeth and kicked him out the door, and he got married to somebody else. And she said, I didn't know if he had cancer or not. I thought people would bring me a casserole. I thought we'd get some casseroles, some tuna casseroles out our door, and we didn't. So now she is like a friend of the show, or I don't even know if she's just kind of on it. But this woman is suing her, saying that she used her services and her husband had died and she was elderly and she wanted to get this policy. Now, it's the intricacies of this is big. The point is, she feels that Vicky put her into an insurance policy, an annuity that was not good for her, that it was not a great move for someone of this age, 74 years old, with this health. She's paid hundreds of thousands of dollars in premiums, up to $1 million, and what she would get from it if she died tomorrow is not even what she paid. These are all the things that I have read, and I am not saying what I'm saying is 100% true, because I don't sell insurance and I'm not a financial planner. But the point is, being that she's a public figure on the show, this article is out. There was also another elderly person who sued her for elder abuse. And I don't know where that story went. And she got very upset when someone said to her that she was a con woman. And she's like, I'm not a con woman. I haven't had a threesome and I've never had sex with multiple people in my life. Who sends a family van? Who sends a family van for 7 people to go to the airport? So here's my thing. If you're going to be on one of these shows, I think you got to pick one or the other. I really do. I know it can work out. And the same thing has happened with Lisa Vanderpump. We wouldn't know about her restaurants and whatnot. But when people sue Lisa Vanderpump for, being her employees or whatever, it kind of looks bad on her character. And then we're supposed to love her on the show. But then we're like, but she had that weird lawsuit. Oh, was that guy money hungry? Whatever. This, I think, is a problem. And it's just unfortunate that, that now it's out there, because I'm sure she's going to say I did an okay thing. But if you really want to explore it, it sounds a little shady to me. So she probably just wants it to go away. I'm sure she's not thrilled I'm talking about it, but I have to talk about it because, I've been put into a similar situation like this, and it wasn't this much money and I was young, but it wasn't a great choice. And but with an elderly person, if they don't want to lean on a family member or whatnot and ask, is this a good idea or not? They might be taken by someone. And that is what elderly abuse is. A guy that comes and sells your grandmother a $2,000 vacuum, like that happened to Peter's grandmother. And that was a long time ago. And the vacuum was $2,000 at her house with 1,000 square feet. But she was so excited that this guy was stopping by and giving her attention. And that's what happened. So you don't want that to happen to anybody in your life. And then when you see that someone on TV that you think is funny and cool, and you read the details of this, you're like, yeah, I don't think that was the best policy for this woman. I really don't. I don't know why she put her into it, but there's different players into it. So she's going to have to deal with that. Also on Real Housewives of OC, we know that we have, the new character, Jen. She gets evicted from her house because she couldn't pay the rent after she was one of those girls that got married, didn't have a career, and raised her kids. And then when she decided she wasn't into her husband anymore and started cheating with her current boyfriend at the gym, that guy went away. He was working for her family. The family's like, fuck you, we hate you because our daughter's divorcing you. So now that ex-husband has no job. So therefore, he can't give her any money to pay for her rent. So now she has to go move in with the boyfriend she met from the gym. And he's in trouble for doing some illegal booking gambling thing, or he's a witness to his partner doing illegal gambling for this baseball player. It's like, that is why I said, do we like the Real Housewives of American Greed or not? Because it just doesn't stop. That's what I talked about on Tuesday. It doesn't stop. So Gina, meanwhile, she was another one. Where's Gina? She was another one. Got married, raised her 3 kids, didn't have a career. Husband cheated on her. There was a domestic violence situation happen. They get divorced. She's on this show. That's not paying enough either. She has to get a real estate license because she knows the show's not going to last long. So then Gina goes, oh, I'll help you, Jen, get a place. So then she vouched so that, I don't know, I guess maybe the realtor who had the listing of the lease was like, maybe she didn't have good credit. Maybe she didn't have a lot of credit because she goes, I didn't even have a credit card in my name. So I'm guessing Jen didn't have a really good credit score or a history of credit. And then Gina's like, no, I can vouch for her. I know her. She's on Real Housewives of OC. They pay us, da-da-da. So then she's in that house, $12,000 a month. The boyfriend, the ex-husband stops giving her money or stops paying for the rent. And after not paying for 6 months, they finally evict her out. So the owner of that house is out of 6 months rent. So that owner of the house, according to Gina, is not too pleased with Gina. And Gina's like, I'm the new realtor here. You kind of fucked me, Jen. Like, I vouched for you. And then when I tried to do a deal with this broker again, she didn't call me back. So that's what we're talking about in OC. And then, of course, the juiciest stuff is about John Jansen's new girlfriend, Alexis Bellino. And he, of course, used to date Shannon Bedore. A lot of people are saying he looks so much happier with Alexis Bellino than he did with Shannon Bedore. Well, that is because he got new teeth. Between Shannon and Alexis, he got a new set of Real Housewife chompers. And they do look better. So he is a little more smiley. They say they're passionately in love. They're on Carlos King's show, who's a friend of mine, friend of Juicy Scoop, has his, he's a producer of reality shows. He produced Real Housewives of New Jersey and has a bunch of other shows. Anyway, he interviews them. And she's like, he wasn't thirsted to be on the show. He offered to pay my salary that I would get from Real Housewives of OC to not do the show. But he's doing the show. So now they're on the show, and he sues Shannon Bedore for $75,000 that he says she owes her. He said he gave her $40,000 for a facelift and then a $35,000 cash loan for whatever reason, and she never gave it back to him. They break up, and he's like, I want my money back. And I guess she was like, I thought that was a gift, like we were dating. And then I think Alexis Bellino was like, hello, all she's done is trash your name on this show, which now I have to try to repair because I'm on the show. So I'm going to have to tell the whole world that John Jansen, a.k.a. Johnny J, is what she calls him now, is a real delight, a smiley, real delight. So don't believe what Shannon said. You're going to love him. But so then Shannon goes, fine, I'll give you your money, but I want you to sign a statement saying that you can't talk about me or disparage me in any way, anywhere. And he's like, no, I want my money and I don't want to sign that because I'm on the show and I need to repair my name that you trashed either behind the scenes or not. Even if, because what would happen is Shannon would talk about her relationship on a phone late at night to one of the girls. And then when the cameras were around and they were having coffee, they'd be like, well, Shannon called me last night and, crying about him doing this. So everyone's like, he's a big dick. He's an awful person. And so, but most people feel like poor Shannon Bedore. Like, she got her DUI. Archie almost, was in the car with her. She's trying to be a good mom to her kids and get it going. And then this woman's at her gym, has her boyfriend. She also got a similar breed of dog as Archie. So she feels like it's real single white female in OC. And, but it makes, this is the show to watch. Of all the shows on Bravo, OC is the one to watch. Meanwhile, also, there is going to be a new show. Peacock is doing Real Housewives dating show spinoff with Luann, Giselle Bryant, Ashley Darby. Those girls are both from Potomac. They're divorced. And Shannon Bedore. And there are very little details of what the show would be, but it's something like at a house, almost like a Love Island. So it'll be probably like a Love Island meets, Golden Bachelor or Bachelorette. Ashley Darby's young. But so I think it's going to be them and maybe like, I'm guessing, and maybe like 15 guys or something are there and of all like kind of different ages and types. And they go on multiple dates and maybe, I'm sure they'll manipulate it that there's probably only a couple good guys. And so hopefully then Shannon and Luann will kind of be like fighting for the attention of the guy. And the guy will be like, God, I love Luann singing, but Shannon is so funny and she wears these weird costumes when we go on dates. And that's what I think is going to happen. But this is good. And I'm excited to ask Luann about it. I think it's going, and this starts filming in September. Meanwhile, poor Brandi Glanville, formerly of Real Housewives of Beverly Hills and Real Housewives of Morocco, Ultimate Girls Trip, which we will never see because, as you know, she allegedly grabbed Caroline Manzo's genitalia and breasts over her clothes and tried to kiss her or did kiss her. And then Caroline is suing Bravo, and Bravo has basically just not talked about this show at all ever coming to the light of day, which I don't think it will. And she said, Brandi, that she is threatening to sue Bravo herself because she said with all the stress of being accused of this, feeling that Bravo doesn't have her back, by not showing the show, the public can only hear the side of the lawsuit, which is Caroline's. We don't, we're not watching it and going, oh, it seems like they were laughing and having fun. So the public, she feels like the public hasn't been on her side, I guess, because of it, because we have no other reference. She's not getting any other work because there's this legal thing looming over her. And so unfortunately, she showed a photo of herself. She's got this, she said, I have this stress-induced angioedema, which stems from her time of being on this trip. And I remember that when she would get stressed, she would break out or pick at her skin or whatever. So she's one of those people that I do think her stress does affect her physical health. I don't know if that could be weighed in a lawsuit. I think she just would like some type of payout or something for what she has lost by feeling very used by Bravo. This episode of Juicy Scoop is brought to you by Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Well, it's time for summer travel. You guys know I've been loving it. And Booking.com offers so many possibilities across the U.S. for all the travelers you want to be, which is perfect for me. You guys, I told you that my younger son is going off to college. We are planning Parents' Weekend, and this makes it so easy because I can just go be that mom on Parents' Weekend, have fun, make sure that we have enough room so hopefully Drake and Mackenzie can join. Booking.com's wide breadth of places to stay across the U.S. makes booking whoever you want to be this summer so easy. From hotel suites for one or more, like my whole family, to romantic villas, maybe just you and the husband for couples escape. There are so many great choices on Booking.com. What are you waiting for? This summer, you can book whoever you want to be on Booking.com, Booking.yeah. Book today on the site or app. Travis and Jason Kelce are reportedly seeking a $100 million deal for their podcast, which is the New Heights podcast. And it is very popular. They say it's number 4. Wondery's looking out of them. We've heard about these huge podcast deals with Spotify. And, of course, Joe Rogan is the top dog. But Smartless has gotten these, 50 million, 60 million, Dax Shepard, 100 million, all these big deals. I don't really know the details of it. I don't know. We also know of the deal that Meghan Markle and Harry got, and that was a big fucking mistake. But this is at least a tried and true show, and that they're brothers and they have chemistry and they talk about sports, and that's never going away, whether he breaks up with Taylor or not. Definitely Taylor put him on the map for other people to enjoy, but it seems to be a hit. And the brother is retiring Jason from football. Travis is still going to play football, but then that'll soon end. And Travis, he is an aspiring singer. He loves to do karaoke. He loves to sing. I've told you my concerns about that. I'm okay with him continuing with his podcast career with his brother. I'm okay with him playing with football. And I am okay with him being a talk show host. He's doing a game show, which I think is kind of fun. He's a very likable guy. Just don't get into singing, country, whatever. Okay. That is what I think will hurt your relationship with Taylor. But I think they'll probably get it. If this is out there, or they want to get it out there so there's like a bidding war and maybe they even get more. That's probably what the case is. They also are going to have their own cereal because why the hell not? I also think this is a good idea. What grown man doesn't love some sugary cereal? I know all 3 of my grown men in my house love sugary cereal and milk at all times of day. So good for them. There's a new book coming out about the royals. I know I haven't talked about it a lot, but I just thought this article is interesting. In which the writer of it, which, it's all speculation or, good sources, whatever, that on the wedding day, Meghan Markle did not wear any of Princess Diana's jewelry. According to this person, she wanted to. But Prince William, who is the heir, said to the spare Harry, no, she's not wearing mom's jewelry on her wedding day. Sorry, no. Because according to this, he didn't think the marriage would last. He didn't want her to have that. I mean, listen, and you wonder why there was a breakdown in the brotherhood. Raising an heir and a spare. They're both heirs, but I have sons similar in age difference. Okay, and I think that would be really annoying to Brandon for his brother to say, you can't do this or you can't do that of moms, because you're like, just because you were born first, you're telling me. So I've told my boys, both of them can each have one of my rings, whether they want to wear it themselves or give it to somebody. I don't care. I'm putting it on the record now. No, the older one is not going to tell the spare what he can and cannot do or what his spouse can and cannot do. No and no. So I think that all adds to I think that was just one layer of all the other stuff that broke this family up on both sides. On both. I could just see it. But this is happening on the wedding day? Okay. Now, Armie Hammer. Very interesting. Remember how much we talked about Armie Hammer being someone who enjoyed cannibalism, and there was so much with this. He had the cute wife, the 2 kids. He came from millions and millions and millions. He came from a weird fucking family. I interviewed his aunt, Casey Hammer. She wrote a book that once it came out that he was, that these girls came forward, that he was writing, cutting A's in their body to scar them and telling them to show up on his doorstep in all fours and all this weird stuff. Saying, oh, I'd love to, take one of your ribs and, eat it like a barbecued rib on a barbecue, whatever. When all that happened, it was just, I don't know if it was, it's weird how some stories just like explode. And I look back at the time and I'm like, where were we in COVID when that story broke? And I think we were like, just like, oh my God, remember how we were all obsessed with Tiger King and things like that? Like, I do kind of think some things just catch fire and some things don't. Now, this was really weird. And he was a big actor at the time. And it was creepy. Then by the time the documentary came out, it just kind of was like a thud. He is supposed, at one point we heard he was selling timeshares in the Cayman Islands where his dad had lived for many years and his family. Then, she, the ex-wife who had this bakery, the Bird's Bakery or something, she was in contact with his victims being, and there was, I saw correspondence between she and one of the alleged victims / ex-girlfriends saying, you got to get all the information out because I want to get full custody and I'm scared for the safety of my kids. Now she's like, seems to be fine with him being in her life. I don't know if she just is like, who cares? Or maybe she doesn't believe the girls now, or maybe she thought all this crazy talk was not necessarily real and just like a weird sexy kink he has, which is what he said. He said it was consensual and it was just a weird place, but he wasn't a great boyfriend and he cheated on his wife and he had multiple girlfriends at the same time. So he said, I admit to that, but I wasn't a creep. I don't really know that he's ever going to get back into acting. I don't think we need him in the acting world. I don't think he was that great. He was really good looking, but as he gets older, I'm like, whatever. Anyway, the mother now has done an interview on the Outliner podcast. And she said she chose to forgive Elizabeth Chambers for having hurt her son. So she said at one time, she acknowledged that Armie had cheated on Elizabeth, his wife, multiple times. Drew is the mother. She emphasized her choice to move past any hurt caused by Chambers. So she was like, well, you hurt me too. I guess because Chambers at one time was on the bandwagon to really expose all this creepy shit about Armie, which definitely ruined his career. So, she's like, I seek forgiveness and reconciliation. And now they share a beautiful relationship. I also think it's a really weird place for a mother-in-law once your child divorces their spouse and there's kids. And you really want to keep that intact because then it's a big problem for you to see the kids. So, but at the same time, when your child is having a tumultuous breakup and it's public and it involves barbecuing a mistress's rib, it gets a little fucking weird. And you married into an already really weird family that there's awful stories about how, the awful things that have gone on in this family throughout generations, super wealthy. And she's like a super Christian woman, this woman, Drew. So of course she has to forgive. Very weird. But my prediction is, you know what? I feel like everybody can come back. If he really wants to come back into acting, I would tell him he's got to find the project or write it or something and then get it like self-funded, or he's got to start real small again. And then he's got to do some it's got to be such a juicy movie. It's got to be such great acting. And then people will just forget. They'll just forget that it even happened. Jax Taylor of The Valley and Vanderpump has entered a treatment. I believe it's a treatment center for mental health. As you know, he and Brittany Cartwright, his longtime wife and girlfriend of many years, they have a 3-year-old son together. We saw in The Valley that she just cracked and was like, I can't take it. And she moved out. And some people thought it was just perfect timing for the show airing. I think I know it was all real. And I think the stress happened because he was stressed that the show wouldn't be successful. While they're filming it, he didn't know it'd be a hit. Now it is a hit. They're filming again. They're not back together. And he is going to get real help for his mental state. So hopefully that'll help him. I don't know if it'll bring them back together. But, this is never a bad thing. This is only a good thing. But I guess we'll see it happen. And I wonder, will we see meetings with that? I mean, I hope we see it all. I think that's why the ballet is good, is because they're so raw and honest about the problems that they're having in their life, trying to be successful in LA, managing young kids, different relationships. And it's just, and he's always been really honest. So good for him. Hopefully he's okay. Okay, Scott Peterson. The Peterson case is one of my most intriguing true crime cases. Really quick to remind you, in 2001, I believe, this, or right around there, 2003, it's been 20 years. This young woman, Laci Peterson, and her husband, they were a cute couple. She was very pregnant, and he went to go fishing. She told him, I'm taking the dog for a walk. He came back. The dog was there with leash on it. She was nowhere to be found. In the meantime, he had a mistress the whole time who didn't watch the news, and he would always be telling her, she thought Scott was single, this mistress named Amber. She thought they had a future together until one day her friend is like, hey, that guy you brought to the Christmas party? He's on the news because his pregnant wife, has been missing for a week and a half. So then she goes to the police and she's like, this is the guy I took to my Christmas party, and he told me he was a widower. That's what he did. That's what I remember. He told me he was a widower. So then she works with the police, and then he calls her on New Year's Eve, and it's taped. And he's like, oh, I'm in Paris, and since we're ahead of you, we're watching the fireworks right now for New Year's Eve, and I can't wait to see you. And she's like, oh, that's great. Meanwhile, he walked away from his wife's candlelit vigil to help find her. He blew out his candle, walked around the corner, called the girlfriend, and acted like he was in France. All this stuff didn't help. And they convicted him after they found the body months and months later, when it washed up onto the shore of the same area that he went fishing the day that she went missing. So people thought he killed her, maybe to be with a mistress, maybe because he just didn't like her, killed her, dumped the body, and then acted like she was missing. But there's always been a lot of weird things around this case that makes you kind of wonder. There were other pregnant women that went missing around the same area. There was a robbery across the street that happened, in which there was a theory that maybe she saw that robbery happening and confronted these guys, and then they kidnapped her and took her and threw her in the ocean. And it just was a coincidence that it was the same body of water, since that was the closest one. A lot of people are like, who goes fishing by yourself on Christmas Eve? Weird. There was a lot. But now they're saying a judge has ordered DNA testing on a piece of duct tape found on Laci Peterson's pants during her autopsy, which could potentially provide Scott Peterson, currently serving a life sentence for the 2002 murder of his pregnant wife, Laci, and their unborn son, a chance at a new trial. The testing will be conducted by Pure Gold Forensics and must be completed within 45 days. The results will be submitted under seal, and the decision follows a previous denial of the defense's motion to test multiple pieces of evidence. Well, my God, I want this piece of duct tape. I mean, if there is a DNA match with another person that they can find that's in the system that was maybe a sex offender or a criminal of some sort, holy shit. How insane would that be if he really didn't do it? Very interesting. Presumed innocent. You're supposed to be presumed innocent until found guilty. This is on Apple. This is a movie I have put on my Juicy Scoop movie list from the 90s and 2000s that many people love, rewatch, but also my younger audience members are like, what are some of those juicy movies? They include Single White Female, A Perfect Murder, Unfaithful, Fatal Attraction, and Presumed Innocent. Those are probably the top 5. Presumed Innocent, I've talked about this on this show many, many times. Obviously, David E. Kelly, which is a juicy scoop, because he decided to do a revival of it. The original movie was just a regular movie, 2 hours long with Harrison Ford. And now it is on Apple. It's 8 episodes. It's with Jake Gyllenhaal. And I started to watch it and I was like, because I remember the movie so well, I know the ending. So I was like, I know the ending. Am I going to still be able to enjoy this series? And I am. And it's really good. And so he's a prosecutor and he has a nice wife and 2 cute teenage kids. And he was having an affair with this other female prosecutor, and she is found dead in a brutal way in her apartment. And that's all I'm going to tell you. And don't look it up. Don't watch the movie now because it'll ruin it for you. And you'll know the answer in 2 hours. If you're looking for a juicy thing to watch, I'd say watch this and we can discuss. Oprah and Gayle did an interview and they discussed the rumors of, and I remember, my God, there were so many rumors. We would joke about it, everything. Are Gayle and Oprah lesbians? They would go on road trips together. And I can honestly say I never, ever thought they were gay. I really just thought they enjoyed each other's company a lot. And she always had Stedman. Gayle was married to her husband for a long time. Then she got divorced. Gayle has 2 adult kids and Oprah had none. And they were just best friends. And I always thought it was great that even though Oprah was this huge, huge star, she knew Gayle from reporting and now Gayle's a star. But throughout it, she always supported her. There was never any jealousy. There was always, this just genuine friendship. And they love to go on road trips together, love to hang out. They have, Thanksgiving together. And I thought it was great that they addressed that. Oprah also said, you can't be friends with anyone who's jealous of you. And this clip has been going around. And I think that's one to really think about when you look back and you wonder why a friendship didn't work or what it was. Or in this case, she kind of goes, when someone's like, ooh, must be nice. Or where'd you get that bag? Or, okay, you and your, like little things like that. Maybe you don't need to toss the friend, but you need to kind of be like, I hope you're okay with I hope you're happy. You really want. And with Oprah and Gayle, they were always so happy for each other in every endeavor. And then there when things weren't good. And so it's like, that's a beautiful friendship. Not everybody's going to have that in life. Maybe you have a different kind of thing, but not everybody has everything. Just like the Ballerina farms and a working mom or mom who works outside of the home to build a different kind of career. You know what, ladies? You can't have it all. You can't have it all. You can have it most. You can have it some of the times. But the minute you say, I can't have it all, I'm just going to try to make every day fun and fulfilling and on my own terms, then you'll be okay. Alec Baldwin is back. The trial ended. It was thrown out. He is no longer having to worry about any criminal aspects of the horrible death of the woman on his set. And so he's back doing his hilarious reality show with Hilaria. How do you say cucumber? And they have the 8 kids. She was the original Ballerina Farms. That is how she built up her social media. Before we knew that she was faking an accent, we really thought she was Alec Baldwin's younger Spanish wife that was popping out babies and doing yoga poses, before her placenta was even cold. That is how she made it. All the kids hanging on her and everything. So now they're doing a reality show, which I think is kind of sad for him. But this is also what happens, guys. When you marry a woman that much younger than you, and now you're 67 and you have, a 1-year-old and 8 other kids or whatever it is to take care of. When TLC calls and you've got multiple kids, it might be the only gig in town, especially after a death happens on your set. This is my worst nightmare. A lot of people ask me, not a lot of people, but when I go to Disneyland and we go on a roller coaster about space or whatever, I always think Space Mountain. I always think, would I ever want to go into space? And I've always said no. That movie with Sandra Bullock when she's lost in space or whatever and running out of oxygen, I freak out when my cell phone is, almost out of battery. I can't imagine being out in the middle of nowhere looking back at Earth. I just want to stay on Earth. I don't care how shitty Earth gets. I don't want to go into space. Anyway, these astronauts are stuck in space for 49 days. Two astronauts named Butch Wilmore and Sumi Williams. So a guy and a girl. And they've been stranded in space for 49 days due to helium leaks. Initially, it was planned for an 8-day mission. 8 days. Do you imagine? And we're complaining about like a 2-hour delay on a plane, okay? They have to remain on this space station until at least August, and they're going to conduct further tests to ensure that this is safe for their return. And if the tests prove successful, a review will be scheduled for them to return. Despite the extended mission, though, there's no concern about supplies, so they have plenty. I just think this is terrifying. I need to follow this story, and if you already know if they got back, can you just let me know? Like, I just don't think anything sounds worse than what if they're just like colleagues and now after 49 days they like love each other? Or what if they were a couple and after 49 days they get divorced? I don't know. I thought this was fucking weird, okay? Jennifer Aniston has this dog and it has its own Instagram and its own book. And all of a sudden I'm like, wait a minute, is she like peddling like for this dog to have its like own cartoon or something? And she is. It's named Claudio. And it's got like 40,000 Instagram followers. And it's a dog that's a chef. And I just am like, okay, Jennifer Aniston, I've been worried about her for a while, falling into the J-Lo trap of feeling that you have to do everything, say everything, and like just not letting it go. Like, you are Jennifer Aniston. You are on a hit show, The Morning Show. You have your hair products. I could just see her be like, oh, I have a really cute dog. And so many people are like, oh, Jennifer, I love your dog. And I'm like, you know what? I love cartoons about dogs. And sometimes I look at my dog and I'm like, what if he could be a dog chef? I want to explore this. Well, let's start it out on Instagram. And when it really catches fire, he could have his own show on Netflix for kids to watch. Like, just, let it go. Hawk Tuohy girl has allegedly made already $1 million or something with filing merch, and she's filing for trademarks called Hawk Sauce, and bet on that thing. Now, I said to my family, I'm already over Hawk Tuohy girl. I really feel the reason that she kind of became popular is it's guys that are into it. It's guys that thought it was funny, and it was guys that thought she was cool. Like, she was the cool chick. She's funny. I don't think there's anything wrong with her. And I think, hey, she came out of that bar. She said the thing. She's like, I saw this guy was going to make money on this viral video. I got an attorney. I'm going to make money too. I lost my job as a preschool teacher. Let's do it. Now, I also heard that there's lots of people that hang out at these bars with cameras ready to catch people saying outrageous things so that they can then get a viral video and be popular. It's like today's Girls Gone Wild. But instead of, getting a free t-shirt, you might get your own podcast. You might get your own hot sauce. So girls are dying to be on the show, when they see these guys, they're like, I don't know, I could be doing the new Hawk Tuohy girl. They don't care that they're drunk. They don't care that they might say something really embarrassing. So I saw this one girl and she's like, I was so excited to see the person outside of the bar. And I stumbled out there and they said, what are you looking for tonight? And she's like, a body. Anybody with a body. She's like, I'm so embarrassed. But you're not embarrassed because now you're doing a video about it. So she's probably like, God, I got really drunk. I said an embarrassing thing. Where's my Hawk Tuohy podcast with, where are my deals? So thought that was interesting. So this prison guard, Linda, she's 30, but she creates content for OnlyFans. Who the hell doesn't? She pleaded guilty to misconduct in a public office after a video showcasing her sexual encounter with an inmate surfaced online. The video captured by the inmate's cellmate. So he got to listen. A lot of people say, we need rehabilitation of these prisoners. They don't learn any skills. This guy, is learning to be a filmmaker. So there you go. The video captured the cellmates in 2024, just in June. This just happened. And it went viral. Following the incident, Linda, I'm just calling Linda De Sosa is her name, attempted to flee to Madrid, but was apprehended at the Heathrow airport. And then they described her actions as a severe breach of public trust. And after a court appearance, she took to Instagram to defend herself, and she criticized the media's portrayal of the scandal. And anyway, she was released on bail, and she awaits sentencing on November 7th. So she might actually do time for this. But even if she does time for it, she's probably going to have her own hot sauce or something like that, like Hak Tui Girl. So, what are you going to do? Bianca had to go to Target and with Kanye and the 4 kids, and she did put like a smock over her. So that was good. And then I saw this thing that I thought was really interesting. This is this girl named Steph. She's on TikTok. She's like, I was at Target. And I'm like, did you see Bianca in a smock or whatever? No. She's like, I was at Target and I'm looking at like these rugs. And I hear this guy talking to this girl and he's like, do it again. And she's like, oh, I'm just so grateful. I'm so grateful for this money. And I'm like, oh my God. And she thinks, am I witnessing like a weird human trafficking thing? I need to see if this girl's okay. So she goes around the corner and she sees this guy and he has like a brace on his body with a camera, like a body cam. So it's right on his middle of his chest, but it's his camera. It's his phone. And they're doing a video where he's like giving her money and she's acting and it's scripted. And she's like, oh my God, you don't understand how much I needed this. And he's like, no, I just want to, I just feel like you deserve it. Okay, let's do it again. Let's do it again. So then she went around and she was acting like she was like typing on her phone, but she's actually filming them. So we got to see who they were. And she's like, look, I'm not saying everybody does this, but I'm kind of bummed because this kind of content I love. When someone goes up to somebody and they said, hey, can you help me out? I just need $2 to buy this coloring set for my kid. And they go to someone that looks a little down and out. And then the down and out person goes, sure, baby, here's $5. Oh, I couldn't do that. No, get your son a little something else. And then he goes, I just want to know, why would you do that for me? And the girl's like, because times are tough and I've been in your position and I don't have a lot. And he goes, well, because you did this for me, here's $1,000. What? My daughter needs an operation or whatever. And then cries. It's like the ultimate helpful Honda dealer commercial. And I'm like, I wonder if this is true. Like, I wonder if any of this is true. Is this all acted out? And again, it's just like, what is real? What do we see? What do we not? And people need to be educated that just like you were watching TV when you were growing up, that it was a scripted show, even though it would influence the way you think about your life or that you don't want to be Bonnie Franklin and one day at a time. We also have to know that a lot of what we see on social media, even though we're looking at it and it looks like someone's selfie and it looks like they're walking up to a stranger and it looks like they're cooking and filming it themselves while their toddler is quietly in the corner and they're able to do all these things themselves. They probably aren't. And it's probably just our new version of TV production that you need to tell yourself, I'm watching this for entertainment value only. This isn't what I should compare myself to. This is not what I should be. These comments don't mean shit. Like, let me just look at my phone and enjoy TikTok or Instagram or whatever as entertainment. And then let me like put it away and realize like, who even knows if these people are fucking real or not? All right, you guys, remember you go to heathermcdonald.net for all of my live stand-up dates. That is where you get the tickets. And the next is with the hilarious Chris Frangella. We are coming to Texas. Houston is Thursday, August 8th. Dallas is Friday, August 9th. That one is almost sold out and it will sell out. And then Austin is Saturday, August 10th. Do not miss out on that. We've got Vegas, so many East Coast dates. All of that is at heathermcdonald.net and Patreon too. Enjoy.